Well, when you look at a map, it's pretty easy to spot Oklahoma. We're the state that looks like a pan. But exactly why do we have that weird handle protruding toward New Mexico and Colorado? Well, for most of us downstaters, as we're often referred to by those folks that live out in the Oklahoma Panhandle, it's easy not to put much thought into what's going on way out west. But from their economy to their changing demographics, there's a lot we can learn about our entire state's future by visiting the largest town in no man's land, and that would be Guymon.
Oklahoma's Panhandle wasn't always a part of the initial Indian territory that made up the state. The Republic of Texas owned the land, but when Texas was considered a slave state after the Missouri Compromise, this strip of land was left ungoverned.
For years, they called it no man's land because ostensibly it was under the control of the federal government, but the federal government never put anybody here to exercise that control. So if you wanted to run cattle here, you could, because there wasn't anybody here to tell you that you couldn't.
And that is exactly what independent pioneers like Paul Hitch's great-grandfather, James K. Hitch, did in 1884.
The state joined us. We didn't join the state.
With no governmental control, on top of the blowing winds and harsh weather, the Panhandle was a tough place to live and took a special kind of individual to tame the land.
The people in this part of Oklahoma and this part of the country have been very resilient. They've adjusted to the Dust Bowl, they've adjusted to climatical changes, they've adjusted to the abundance of water and natural gas. And as things change, the farmers and people in this area have been able to adjust to that and prosper.
It wasn't until the signing of the Organic Act in 1890 that the Panhandle became a part of what would eventually become Oklahoma. And even though Guymon was not the focal point for the joining of these lands, it now has become the largest growing community in the Panhandle, thanks to agriculture.
The money to support all the other car and truck dealerships and restaurants and bars and filling stations really comes from agricultural production. It comes from farmers, ranchers, cattle feeders, and pig farmers.
Paul Hitch is president of Hitch Enterprises that employs over 300 people with 2 feedlots, 1 pork production, a farm, and all headquartered in Guymon. His son Jason is vice president of the family business and says Guymon is the perfect location for Hitch Enterprises.
The city is dependent on us as we are on it. The local stores here in Guymon have started catering to the increasing Hispanic population.
A population that makes up 40% of the workforce at just one of the Hitch's cattle feedlots and over 80% at their pork producing plant, making it possible for large producers like the Hitches to exist.
And I think, efficiency in today's world is the name of the game. We're no longer competing in the local market, we're competing in the global one.
Another major contributor to Guymon's economy has been Seaboard Farms, a major pork-producing plant that has helped increase Guymon's population to over 13,000, something former Mayor Jess Nelson witnessed during his 28 years of service to Guymon.
We've had over 5,000 new jobs in the county, most of those in Guymon, but some in the surrounding communities as well.
And with any growing community, Guymon has had to meet the challenges such as a changing culture, housing, and infrastructure.
We had a large influx of Hispanic people in Guymon, and instead of that being a problem, I think we've worked to make that an asset. People in this area are progressive looking. They're aggressive in that they go out to try to recruit industry and jobs and try to promote the welfare of the community. And it takes the whole community working together to make it work.
And even though Guymon is constantly changing and growing, they still take time to cherish the past with their annual Pioneer Days events commemorating the Organic Act.
You can imagine in the 30s when Pioneer Day started, this was not an easy place to scratch out a living. And the folks that stayed and made it are really the kind of folks that are still here in the Panhandle, folks that work hard and that stick together and help each other out. So I think that's really what Pioneer Days is about, honoring those people, not only the ones that stayed through that time, but the ones that are still coming here today.
Pioneer Days are held the first weekend in May and kicks off with their annual parade and events like the Old Timers Reunion, carnivals, and of course the 10th largest PRCA rodeo with over $390,000 in cash prizes. That brings in not only top athletes but also spectators from all across the U.S.
So there's really something for everybody, and there's dances going on in town, and it's a great time to be in Guymon, and a lot of people come home that grew up here. They make that weekend the time they come home to kind of have a reunion and see other folks, and so it's just really a neat atmosphere, a lot going on.
This is the old rocker type.
Folks like Jimmie Draper, who have been Guymon residents since going to school at Panhandle State University in 1953, have seen Guymon open its arms to newcomers and welcome the growth.
Our Chamber of Commerce is very active. It's pro-business, and it'll do whatever it can to help you secure a location. You know, you just get your needs together and present it to them, and the people that are employed by our chamber will do everything they can to get you all the information you need.
Something current Mayor Peggy Keenan says is important, as Guymon's workforce is one of the youngest in the state.
I realize with as many young people as we have growing up, will be challenges, as there always is with young people, but young people always have such energy, and if we can focus it in the right direction, we can't go anywhere but forward.
By utilizing the independent and strong-willed roots Guymon was founded on, the younger generation is looking to move forward to a more prosperous tomorrow.